guys, before we get started with this video, I would just like to say if you're enjoying my content, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and give that notification bell a big ol' smack for me. It helps the channel out a lot. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy the video. How's it going, everybody? And welcome to episode 4 of Roleplays to Roblox. So today, we are bringing Glace Ice Cream Parlor onto the series. So if you don't know what this series is, essentially what this is mine and a good portion of the roleplay community on Roblox's response to the 2026 age estimation update. So what I am doing is I am inviting game owners, game developers, and high-ranking members of groups that are being highly affected by this age update into voice calls with me, and I ask them a series of questions about who they are, what they do, and how this update is going to just destroy so many games on the platform. And the goal here is to not only inform the public, but to hopefully inform Roblox about the damage they are about to bring on so many people, both on a professional level and on a personal level. So if you have not seen the previous 3 episodes of this series, please go ahead and do so. There is a playlist publicly available on the channel, so you can quickly access them. But also you can always search them up, you know, Roleplays to Roblox, episode 1, 2, and 3, and of course 4 being this one. So, before we jump into this interview, I would just like to please ask that you guys spread this episode and every single episode of Roleplays to Roblox around so we can increase the chances of informing the public and maybe getting someone at Roblox to see this series, which I know is a long shot, but hey, we might as well try. So today we're going to be interviewing one of the developers of Glace Ice Cream Parlor. So let's go ahead and jump into the interview, shall we? So what is your name?
My name is Skills or Vaxity, depending on the platform.
What is your current role or rank in Glace Ice Cream Parlor?
I'm the head of development.
Okay. What are your responsibilities in this group? What is your job?
I have multiple responsibilities, which include scouting, hiring, and assessing new talent, leading the development team. So I follow the plans and assist other developers to bring the plans to life and make sure that they're taken care of. I also handle a lot of the creative direction, so I sit down, help plan the next steps forward and the content design we want, and advise us to good game design practices and ensure that we're keeping within Roblox's terms of service and ethical responsibility. I deal with bridging the gap in communication between ownership, development, leadership, and the community so that everyone is all on the same page and every problem can be raised and communicated. And I also do active development myself as well. I take on additional responsibility on a volunteer basis. I'm part of the 18 plus team, which is a team of adult leadership that solely deals with sensitive situations or dangerous people. I jump in and help out from time to time on a staffing or PR end, and I help to handle a bunch of other stuff behind the scenes as well when needed.
All right. How long have you been here? From day 1, when you first walked into Glace, to now? How long have you been a part of the group?
So, interestingly, I didn't start out at Glace as a developer. I was brought over to Glace as an executive assistant originally. I didn't get on well with the responsibilities of an executive assistant, and so I resigned a month in. I later came back to Glace as a developer to deal with something temporarily, and have since been around at Glace for around 2 to 2.5 years.
So that was kind of like a happy accident, I guess, sort of. Um, what does Glace mean to you personally? On a personal level, what does this group mean to you?
Initially, when I was offered, I thought it was a cool opportunity. When I started out as a junior developer and just helping out, I was incredibly nervous and had a feeling of imposter syndrome that I just couldn't shake. And so to combat this, instead of doing what I was expected to do, I took a slightly different route and decided to pour my time into looking at and doing what the community actually were asking for. In hindsight, back then, I wasn't this sort of person that would have agreed to this opportunity. I would have gotten cold feet and pulled out or said no. And there were so many times I was so close to being completely done with it, but I ended up committing and stuck to it. And nowadays, I'm quite happy to have made the commitment that I would to stick by this community. They've provided a lot of consistency in my life and have given me something meaningful to contribute to, which other people get enjoyment out of, which I can do in my spare time that I would probably otherwise be wasting by doing nothing.
All right. Now, this question wasn't in the list, but when we were talking, we had a brief conversation, obviously, talking about this interview and stuff. You had mentioned that you've worked in other groups. Do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about those other groups, what those groups are, and what those groups mean to you?
Yeah, so to explain it, Glace is owned by essentially a parent group called Work in Progress. And Work in Progress, I'm the lead of development for. So I'm also the lead of development at Work in Progress other groups. One of which is Beachbox, which is about half of Glace's size. It is a multi-group beach-based role-play game, and there's also Stakeout, which is like 20 times smaller than Beachbox, which is an older group awaiting release, but it will be a steakhouse roleplay game. Questioned the project manager at the time and the way that they were running things, and I turned out to be right. And Stakeout was the first time I had where I actively collaborated with people that were already familiar with their role as a specialist. And so it gave me a lot of ground experiences to, well, both Beachbox and Stakeout really gave me the ground experiences to how to work in a team, how to keep a team organized, keep a team running, how to support team members individually, have also allowed for me to develop my own skills as a developer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you've had quite a long journey from the start to now.
Yeah, I started at Beachbox 3 years ago, and I was dragged to Glace 6 months later.
Now, obviously, this question, the answer depends on your comfort level, how much you do and don't want to share. How much do you financially rely on the income that you get from your position you have at Glace or any of the other groups that you get income from?
I know a lot of people prefer not to speak on this, but any player that knows me or has spoken to me, or any staff that's spoken to me, knows that I'm quite open about everything as much as I can possibly be without compromising other people's privacy, of course. So a lot of those players and staff who have spoken me to a bit or may have been around the community for a time probably know this, but I've refused to accept any sort of payment for my role. They, Shark and Party, who own Work in Progress, had to basically they kept trying to convince me to accept payment because they didn't want to take advantage of me, which granted is very, very rare for somebody that hires you as a developer. Um, it's just something that I'm passionate about, so just being able to be in an environment where I can do it is enough payment for me. I know that unfortunately, this isn't the case for many others. A lot of the people that I know personally and have spoken to see this as their part time job or rely on this as their full time job. This is their job. This is what pays their bills. This is, in some cases, we've had, for example, a developer with a full family that fed his kids with the money. So thinking about
Jeez.
how this could seriously impact some people's jobs and financial situation makes me feel just sick, truly awful.
Yeah. So since we're on the topic of what this is, if this update were to pass in January as Roblox has described it, what kind of damage do you believe that this could do to your groups and to you personally?
So this is an interesting question in our case because we're in a bit of an odd situation compared to other groups that we've seen. Of course, we've been paying attention to kind of as soon as this came out, our immediate thought was, what's everyone else going to do? How are they going to react? Because we don't think this is going to go well. And I think other communities have had the same reaction. Because of these changes, we've had a lot of internal debate over the past several days about how exactly we think things could look for us. What we currently generally agree on is that larger communities are the most likely to manage to survive through this, but smaller communities or less active communities may not be as fortunate. In Glace's case, we're hopeful that we've adapted early just enough to lessen the impact because Glace has a larger community and a larger player base. Outside of development end, a large concern leadership have had is how do we moderate? How do we make sure our communities are safe? As I alluded to earlier, we have an 18 plus team, which consists of trusted adults, some of whom have real world certifications in child safety, some of whom have worked with children. And we've designed our structure in such a way to prevent under 18 staff members or others from handling sensitive matters regarding mental health, member safety, or potential dangerous situations or predators. Our communities and our staff teams have been really good at being on the ball with raising those sorts of topics to our 18 plus team so that we can ensure safety. If this team cannot go into the game and check through message logs or see what's being said, how can we possibly make a determination as to who could pose a danger or not? It makes our job extremely difficult or near impossible because we have to go based off of screenshots, which anybody that's had to report something to us knows that we try and avoid at all costs. Another concern that we've had is that the update itself doesn't seem to consider that predators very often use younger people as proxies to lure other children in. This is a very well documented behavior by law enforcement, child safety experts, even psychology. Even with the age group segregation, which is essentially what this update is,
Yeah.
even if the age verification is 100% accurate, there is no fault in it. It verifies everybody, guesses their age accurately. Nobody bypasses it. There is still objectively nothing that prevents an adult who is above 21 years old from having a 16-year-old who has a 13-year-old who has a 9-year-old who then has access to children under 9 years old. We've personally witnessed exactly this happening in our games or communities in some capacity way before this update was announced. So, how can we possibly moderate any of it when we can't see what's happening? If we can't see the network in action, we can't see what's happening beneath the surface. I think it's very dangerous.
Yeah, because if
Um,
you guys are only in an 18 plus server, then you can't see what's going on in the other younger age groups, right?
yeah, the I'm pretty sure the update so there's like age bands and there's like a bit of fuzz between the age bands to not completely segregate. But that causes a problem because what if you use people who are in kind of like two different age groups to then connect with people in a lower age group, which pedophiles do. On a personal front, I've always seen interacting with players as an important job and also one of my main responsibilities as a developer. I also think many players appreciate being able to speak with a developer directly about the game without having to jump through hoops to get there. To me, as a young adult who looks like a young teenager, I was on a train like 2 months ago, and this group of 15-year-old boys came on the train, and the person that I was with asked these boys how old they thought I was, and they thought that I was younger than them. So, as an adult who looks like a young teenager, I'm forced to submit an ID, or I can no longer communicate at all. And I also cannot really be part of the development team anymore, or any development team, because they've chosen to lock Team Create behind it as well. So selfie verification simply isn't an option in my scenario. I was raised by my parents to always fiercely protect my privacy, especially online, because
It's,
your
yeah,
privacy is also your safety.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Roblox is trying to tell us that, it's secure, but how many other, billion-dollar companies have said the same, and then we find out it wasn't safe at all.
I've seen people read through the privacy policy, and I've read through the privacy policy of this third party because I wanted to see how they would be using my information. They don't tell you really anything. It's very vague about which third parties have access, how long it's stored for, how it's stored, etc. Why would I give my personal information that is extremely sensitive to such a company when I don't know where that information is going to end up? There's no guarantee that my information is safe.
Yeah.
I also think it's terrifying to think about the possibility of Roblox doing this and it normalizing children sharing such personal information about themselves. I think that is quite a terrifying position because if a kid does selfie verification and nothing happens, then if somebody asks that kid for a selfie in the future or something, the kid's not going to see anything wrong with it because nothing bad happened.
I didn't even think about it that way.
Unfortunately, we're forced to think about all of these possibilities. The whole thing sort of leaves me in a position here where I can either choose to compromise my own privacy and safety because I have to ID verify, or I can choose to just leave. I'm autistic, and this is one of my very few deep interests, and this is really the only medium that I've been able to express myself through the past several years. I've been developing on Roblox for 13 years now. And I turned 22 at the end of this week, so it's been over half of my life developing on this platform.
And that's exactly how I feel
Um,
about this YouTube career. I've been doing this for 13 years, and this update could make my career go up in smoke if either I don't find something new to make content on that will get the same viewership, or I don't find a way to you know make the content I do. So we're in a pretty similar spot. If you could say one thing to Roblox or David or somebody who, is in charge up there at Roblox about this update, what would you say to them?
I knew since they made a decision to remove Schlep, and Schlep made his video, I knew something like this was bound to happen. Obviously, we saw the Ruben Sims situation happen before that, but I never expected it to be immediately nuclear. This is basically self destruction because your platform was built upon and uniquely marketed through relatively frictionless social interaction, which this update just decimates entirely. My advice would be to avoid rolling it out as much as possible any further and to urgently reassess your options. I think there are so many other viable solutions that, when combined, could drastically improve moderation platform wide, or at least could have been visited before doing this. This update objectively doesn't affect moderation really at all. I don't think searching for a perfect solution is what we should be doing here because when you really think about it, a perfect solution doesn't exist. We need better moderation, which is what the community have been begging for the longest time.